This is the Super Sports Schools Podcast, bringing you stories of our future stars, powered by Spur Steak Ranchers.
1, 2, 3, go!
Hello and welcome to what is a very special episode of the Super Sports Schools Podcast brought to you by Spur. My name is Alex White and today's episode is special because we're looking forward to the rugby season that's coming up. Now there's rugby this week, there's rugby next week, and there's going to be rugby for many more weeks as we get into the second term and get into the season properly. But as we get into the season, we thought it would be a good idea to have a look at who are the players to watch, who are the ones to look out for and be excited about, and then who are the honorable mentions. When we say that in this show, we're going to talk about a lot of players, but specifically, we're going to talk about 15. Who are the 15 players to watch? Who are they and which schools do they come from? Now, we at Super Sports Schools couldn't choose a 15, so we've brought in Tom Pullen from Next Gen 15. They do this every year, choose 100 players to watch, and then a 15 to watch, and then one player who's like the shining star. Tom Pullen chats with us, and I say us because it's not just me. We've brought in our own Super Sports Schools experts, and they are Spoed Smith, who manages commentary at Super Sports Schools, amongst other things, as being a school manager as well, and Nienaber, basically the school sport, not just rugby, the school sport encyclopedia. I'll jump in here and there to check a few things, but mostly they're just going to chat about the 15 players that Tom and his team at Next Gen 15 have selected. They'll go over all 15 positions, tell you who to watch, why to watch them, and which schools they play for as we build up to the season. This episode is a bit longer than normal so that you get all that great content. And remember, the Super Sports Schools podcast is now also the Super Sports Schools vodcast, as you can watch it on channel 216 on DSTV. Every week, we've got new episodes out for you to enjoy. You can watch it online as well, or via the Super Sports Schools app. And finally, you can stream, download, listen, and show some love wherever you are with whatever podcast app you prefer. But now, without any further ado, let's get into this week's episode and find out who are the 15 to watch. And if you already know who they are, because this list has been out already, let's find out why. And to help me do that, I'm joined by a very special panel. Two people from Super Sports Schools, Spoed Smith, who helps manage and run our commentary team, and Nienaber, the encyclopedia of school sport. Then joining us all the way from across the seas from Next Gen 15, Tom Pullen. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I think just to start off, if we go through each of you, I think starting with the guys from Super Sports Schools, to just say who you are and what it is that you do in terms of the world of school sport. So maybe we start with you, Hannes.
Thanks, Alex. Hannes Nienaber here. I started covering schoolboy rugby back in 2007. Became a passion quite quickly, I think, as everybody knows. And if you start within schoolboy rugby, joined Super Sports Schools recently as well. And we're going to build out some of the other sports as well in the school: fraternity, basketball, football, hockey, netball out as well. Hopefully in the same level that we have school rugby at the moment that we've done. So yeah, quite excited for the future of school sports.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Alex. Well, I commentated my first schoolboy rugby game in 2017. It was at the St. John's College Festival, where I think you might be doing a couple of games later this year. And yeah, it's been a hell of a journey since then. I think last count, it's been about 230 schoolboy rugby games that I've commentated on. Since I had the privilege as well to join Super Sport and do commentary on the Varsity Cup and Toyota Challenge, and a bit later this year, from April onwards, the Currie Cup. But yeah, one's passion will always probably remain schoolboy rugby. It is the purest form of the game. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. And I have since joined the Super Sports Schools family in a capacity as a schools manager in the Free State and Northern Cape and Northwest a little bit. And naturally, it's just grown into the commentary space as well for Super Sports Schools, probably because one has been around the block a little bit.
Awesome, Spoed. Thank you so much. Definitely those 230 games are going to be very useful for today's discussion. But just before we get to that, our special guest from across the seas, Tom Pullen, can you introduce yourself?
So basically started this off as a bit of a hobby / passion project and grew it into what it is today. So we've got a presence in South Africa and England. I obviously cover all the South African side of things. I think like growing up in South Africa, red-blooded male, you grow up with school rugby, the traditions, the ethos, all the rest of that. And, I just decided to take a stab at things that I never expected to be here. I mean, look, I'm here to voice of school rugby and describe school rugby. So join the big boys club. So happy to be here.
So, Tom, we want to get into that discussion now, why we're all here to talk about the upcoming season of schoolboy rugby and Next Gen 15. There's a list that's been put out. We're here to discuss that list, talk about that list, see what we're most excited for in this upcoming season. But can we just first get a bit of a background from you on the list?
Okay, so basically, I was in contact with a guy from New Zealand that runs a website called High School Top 200. Now, he ranked players. And I just said to him, I don't think that'll quite work in South Africa, but I thought something like a 100 to watch would be quite cool. And then out of those 100 to watch, sort of look at 15 players to watch. And then out of those 15 players, name a number one prospect. So almost like Americanizing a bit, but make it a bit fun. I mean, this is far more for the youngsters than it is for anybody else. Obviously, the first year's reception was, it was quiet. We got featured on Rugby Pass, which is quite nice. There gained some traction. And then it's sort of just grown from there. I think people sort of look forward to it every year. Obviously, I get inundated with messages from angry parents, leaving little Johnny off the list and all the rest of it. But it's, you always put a caveat in place, right? That like, these are just guys that I'm watching. I don't profess to be an expert. I'm just someone that's passionate about the game. And these are the guys that I'm keeping an eye out on. And, I always try and put these things like pre-season because it's, post-season sort of like a low-hanging fruit. We sort of know who the best 15 is. But it's more of a challenge to say, right, these are the 15 guys that I'm really keen to watch and keep an eye out on. And then what actually happens, you end up learning through that process because you get so many messages telling you what a fool you are and you missed out this player. And it's like, okay, great. Now I've got that guy on my database that I'm going to watch. So it's actually part of the learning process. That's basically how we came up with the 15 to watch. We also do the under 20 level, but obviously that's nowhere near as popular as the South African under 18 side of things.
Yeah, I can imagine definitely the school vibe is very exciting, trying to see who makes it into that 15 to watch. And just for someone who hasn't seen the list, in terms of, is it 1 to 15 as in you choose someone in each position or is it just 15 players?
No, it's each a player in each position, and then obviously I do honorable mentions of other players that I feel were quite close to making it. But again, just I have to say to everybody watching, it's opinion based. I'm no expert. I'm just an enthusiast.
Yeah, and luckily we've got Hannes and Spoed here. I mean, as close to, I think, experts in schoolboy rugby as it is possible to get. And one thing with Super Sports Schools is that there's a lot more exposure these days than there's ever been before on many sports, especially rugby. So that's what we're here to discuss. I think, Tom, if you can kick us off, and Hannes and Spoed, I think it's time to chat a bit about the players.
Okay, well, starting off at fullback, I went with JT Stradon from Nienaber. I just thought he showed incredible maturity last year. I think he played as a class at like sort of under 14 level. Then obviously due to the pandemic, we sort of lost that sort of under 15, under 16 type age group level. But I just think he's a very unique talent. Got a lot of speed, great boot on him. All the goods essentially.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
Tom, I think. Sorry, but JT Stradon
for it.
is probably I'm a bit faster than Spoed. I'll claim that. So I also believe JT Stradon. I just want to start out by saying I think for as you make yourself a bit of a novice, you picked a proper team for a novice, if I can say that.
Thank you.
You're probably not a novice anymore at all. So JT Stradom, good pick there. I would say, and you have him under your honorable mentions, one guy that I would be looking out for this year, but it's probably because I'm living up north, is Jody Chambrel. He was exceptional for Monash last year in the knockout phases as well for the Noordval competition. So, yeah, it's going to be a close call between you're probably in that honorable mentions, and with JT Stradom, you have the SA Schools fullback in there, I promise you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if I can cut in here, Tom, like Hannes said, I think you're way past the novice stage. I always look forward to seeing your selections and your picks and sort of brainstorming by myself. What would I have selected there? Look, as much as I dislike agreeing with Hannes Nienaber on a lot of things, I have to agree with him on this one. Jody Chambrel, proper talent. Funnily enough, his brother Tariq plays for Grey College at under 16 level.
Flower, right?
Yeah, he's also a proper talent. But older brother playing for Monash, big things of him. But getting back to JT Stradom with your pick, it's about the balance for me. The balance he has when he runs, the balance he has when he kicks, maturity beyond his years. And we saw last year that Otaniqua successfully used him a lot as first receiver as well. Even though he played at fullback, he does sort of run the game from fullback. And for a grade 11 player to do that was pretty special. That Otaniqua side this year is going to be a proper outfit.
Exciting.
They're gonna scare some people. Not that they ever a bad side, but they have worked hard with this group of players for this year. So yeah, between Chambrel and Stradom, I feel pretty comfortable to agree with Hannes that one of them will be wearing green and gold at under 18 level, and perhaps both of them later on this year. And maybe in my mind, Chambrel, just for those flashes of brilliance, might have a slight advantage, but then it depends on how you want to coach and how you want to play. Perhaps there's even space for both of them and the same backline.
No, for sure. And I just think two other honorable mentions that I had, JC Mars from Paul Boys and Gilmo Mento from Bishops, also extraordinary players. I mean, I think the one thing we know, guys, is that the amount of depth and talent in this country is absolutely frightening when you take a look at some of these boys coming through. And someone that I didn't mention too much as well as Yapra Williams from Glenwood. I mean, these guys are going to have to work their backsides off this year to take that number 15 jersey because there's a lot of competition there.
Cool. Tom, I wanted to mention earlier that probably with the amount of depth in our country, with the talent that we have in South Africa, that probably in each of these positions that you pick, there's probably a name that we don't even know about. That's probably at a school like Uppington or the Jasper Wieses of this world, or the Cobus Wieses at Uppington that we don't even know of. So which could come up during the season, and that's probably the part that still gets me a lot excited after 17 years or a bit doing this. That there's those guys that could also probably make it, and I'm going to be not for every position, but probably at fullback as well, and be one of those parents that send you a mail. I think you forgot about David Twala of Iggy Janssen. Can put him in there as an honorable mention as well, probably.
Yeah. I've looked at the problem that I had as well was that because there was no Grand Como 2 years ago, I struggled to know who's under 17 and who's under, who's under 18 and under 19 or whatever, right? And like David Twala was a big miss. Sophia from Helpercar was a massive miss. I think the hooker, the Vic Lottery from Klasfontein, like, I mean, I thought these guys were all like matrics and levers, right? And it's like, but that's part of the learning process, right? So you make your mistakes and that's how you learn.
It's also difficult to keep track of so many boys and knowing where they come from and their ages and everything. It's not that we have 20 schools in this country that participate. Yes, we have a few elite few that's very good, but probably we have a lot of schools, a lot of boys that play this game.
Yeah, exactly.
you mentioned earlier, I can't remember who mentioned it, but one of you mentioned how well a fullback needs to be able to control the game, and how that's something I think fullbacks aren't always spoken about as much as other positions where there's necessarily the obvious flair. I mean, fullbacks a lot of the time are controlling the game, they're managing the back line and doing a great job. So I think that we've spent so long talking about fullbacks shows how important it is. But I think to go on to the rest of the list now, so that this doesn't become a 3-hour show.
Okay, I'll full steam ahead. So right wing, I went with JJ. Okay, how do I pronounce this name? Is it Daters or Daters? Because I'm a Soti. You must remember this.
It's
let's.
I'm not sure. It's put my help there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. If you ask me to do the game in Afrikaans, he's going to be JJ Daters, and if I'm commentating it in English, it might be JJ Daters. But yeah, what a pick, what a player! Another one of those Otaniqua guys who played last year as well. Yeah, special talent. It's gonna be a pretty dangerous back three to kick deep on. Is the back three of Otaniqua. If you're gonna kick deep against them, you're gonna have to have a pretty special 10 doing that job. And then in saying that, that might be the one challenge for Daughters is when fly-offs start turning him around. When they do get the ball in behind him, those players with the flair and the skills and the pace, isn't that so often their Achilles heel? They love it going forward, and he's magical with that. But every now and then you just get that Louis Kuhn or Liam Kuhn rather sort of fly off, who played for Paul Jim last year, who's able to turn those wingers around. Somebody like a Ian van der Merwe maybe this year at Grey College. He's got a massive left boot. Maybe he'll be able to get those guys to turn around, and that'll be his challenge. But on the front foot, absolutely devastating. And in conjunction with Strydom, they will score some of the better attacking or counter-attacking tries in schoolboy rugby in 2023.
I won't add too much to that. I also think it's going to be an exciting season. And we're probably going to have a bit more highlight reels this year onto social media with some exciting tries. If I look at this team as well with Daughters and Strydom so far, and with the next one coming up, Tom, as well. And as Spoed mentioned, probably was it now a Hashi guy? I would be more excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to go through just a couple of honorable mentions. It was Clitty from St. Andrews, who I really liked last year. Jason Uko from Klasfontein. Martin Boyder from Great College. Scott Bell from Paul Boyce and Zerda Prince from Oakdale. Just my final point on JJ is that, a lot of our wingers have got exceptional speed, but not that size and strength. I mean, he's just an outlier in those terms. He's like a proper bulldozer when he runs. And that was as a grade 11. I imagine him in his matric because the growth difference between grade 11 and grade 12. I think he's going to be one of the best wingers we've seen in many years. I'm very, very confident that he's going to have an outstanding season.
Spur back bacon is like having fillet for breakfast. Because back bacon has more meat and less fat. And we grill that back bacon at 350 degrees. Then serve it with 2 large eggs, golden chips, grilled tomato, toast and jam. And at only $49.90 for our unreal breakfast. Why not bring the whole family? Spur, people with a taste for life. T's and C's apply.
Okay, so outside centre, went with Dimitri Erasmus from Klasfontein. To me, it was a no-brainer. I think this guy, just my personal opinion, I think he walks into the SS Schools team. I know that he's going to have some competition like in every position, but you talk about outliers, someone that just got speed off the mark, excellent defense, just an excellent reading of the game, our rugby IQ. That's just someone I think is a natural talent. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him this year. And I think Klasfontein, I think they're going to be pushing hard for that number 1 spot. They've been so close for so many years. And this could really well be their year, in my opinion.
I know.
Hannes will be happy.
With me. Yeah, no, but with me, worked last year at Garsfontein. That's a disclaimer. And knowing Dimitri, Dimitri came to Garsfontein from Hartestros Day, and he has developed extensively in last year, being there And he's a player that he's got that ability to, I don't know, if you want someone to get you over the advantage line, get you past the defensive line of any team, I'll probably just give the ball to Dimitri. He's got something in that the acceleration that he's got from a stop start. He's exceptional in that, and I think at outside center, he's probably the top pick in the country. Already probably thought last year he could have pressed for a bigger honor selection in South African schools.
Yeah, I've got absolutely no disagreement or no even, almost nothing to add. I think heading into the season, he is a guy that'll stand out. Just a slight danger always also for players like this. If we think back last year to somebody like Lorenzo Julius, so much is expected of you. And to make sure that you live up to that expectation sometimes becomes a burden on a player. Hannes will know Dimitri well. He'll be able to cope with that. But obviously also now all of a sudden sides are preparing specifically for you. Thanks to the digital world and to all the productions, video footage so regularly available. And the coaches who's playing Garsfontein this year, the sides who's playing Garsfontein rather, their coaches will know Dimitri Erasmus. They'll know, exactly what he'll want to try and do. And obviously they'll try and counter that. But special talents, expect a massive year from him. And obviously there's some quality in the honorable mentions as well, Tom.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of those honorable mentions, put Gino Computer from Strand. He was SS Schools A last year, I believe. Ashwin Darman's another one from Antigua. James Nienaber from Durbanville. He played as a winger for Durbanville last year in some games, but I think he'll go to 13 this year. Tadiwa Chukotiro from Kingswood, Zimbabwean kid, looks the real deal. Lawandele Gaba from Queens is back. Nick Allison from Bishops looks great. And then also Campbell Riddle from Michael House. Then at 12, I went, this was very difficult. And I had to rely on my same panel that were too chicken to come up on Super Sports Schools and join us on this. You guys will know some of them. With number 12, I went with Henny Otto from Paul Jim. I've just got a very special feeling about him this year. I think he's got great pedigree. I think he would have been an absolute superstar in 99% of first teams last year. But when you got Philip Albert van Niekerk in front of you, it's a bit tough. You know what I mean? That's just all the quality of Paul Jim. But Peter Rousseau is one of the finest rugby brains in school rugby, great strategist. And I'm just really excited to see what he's going to do with Eddie this year. I think he could be a battery ram. He could be an extra man at the breakdown. Defensive, he's very sound. I think he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, I have to agree. And especially in the way Paul Jim plays, their 12 is an integral part of their whole game plan. So often you refer to Philip Albert van Niekerk. Injury curtailed his season slightly last year. But he was one of the hottest properties in South African schoolboy rugby early on last year, for good reason. And Otto, you can expect him to fill that same kind of mold that Pierre van Niekerk did last year, because of the way Peter and Paul Jim likes to play. So it's a great side to be at 12 in, because a lot of the decision making and a lot of things happening on the field for Paul Jim happens in that channel. Otto will have umpteen opportunities to show his worth in the way they'll play. And I think more often than not, he'll control that midfield really well for Paul Jim. Obviously, he'll have other 12s that are really gunning for him as well, as we spoke about Dimitri Erasmus. Same thing will happen with him, but I'm sure he'll take good care of himself in that inside channel.
There's been players that played SA Schools in the Standard 9 year, like Cliff Moulton at Office, Diego Paulus at Garsfontein, and then don't make the squad in matric. And it's because of development, and it's a lot of, and that's why I think it's open for discussion, and at the end of the season. That's why I like this as well. See where we probably, where Tom and his panel has missed a few, but that's the exciting part of schoolboy rugby. That's what I enjoy. This is where it doesn't say that if a name is here, that person would be the best player of the season. You don't know what the guys did in December, how many pull-ups they've done, how many push-ups, how hard these guys work, because it's all in rugby. These days, you have to outwork the guys. It's that the quote about talent and hard work always comes to mind, and it's really true in schoolboy rugby. And inside centre is probably was probably one of the most difficult ones. When I went through the list, I thought this must have been a difficult one to pick,
Brutal.
because it's brutal. Yeah. So yeah, but I mean Benito Guda haven't played that inside centre yet for Grey College. I think he started a wing or outside centre, and so it's still. And Albie Bester is also a good prospect that I've seen last year. He was very good at the St. John's College Easter Festival last year. So some good names here in the honourable mentions as well.
For sure. Like Daniel van der Merwe from Paul Boys. I mean, him against Otto at the Paul Derby is going to have some real spice to it. Ciso Frans from Kearsley is fantastic. De Klerk from Wonders. Ruben Thompson from Stenenberg. I mean, again, guys, we could sit here all day talking about players in these positions. But obviously, I'll move on to the left wing. I went with Jamil de Jong. Look, there's a lot of quantity here as well, but to me, this honestly was a bit of an easy one. Just a high quality player. Again, another guy that showed incredible maturity in his grade 11 year. I think he's going to be a key part of the team this year. Funny enough, I just got a message. He's actually playing number 13 today, which I found, quite strange, because I just pictured him as an out and out wing. But we must remember his brother was an exceptional number 13 himself, and he's at the Lions at the moment, doing great things over there. So, yeah.
No, I think that was quite an easy pick to make. Jamil is a proper game breaker. He showed it last year. Him and his brother was for Paul was high, and he's probably going to be one of the most important cocks in the wheel there for the attack of Paul was high this year again. So quite a good pick there. And yes, I must say, I've seen Hayden Tormay this year as well. Good pick. It's a name that I didn't pick up earlier, so it's good pick there, Tom, on Hayden Tormay, as well as Mulisi Gumedi and Enzo Labuskachny. Paul Jim, I would like to see a lot more of Enzo Labuskachny this year. It seemed last year when he got his chances that he grabbed them, but I believe this year could be his year as well.
100%. And I think he's playing number 13 as well. So a combination between him and Henny Otters is going to do some real damage this year. Just another player that to mention, Tuma Misi from Rondebosch. I think he's going to have an outstanding year as well. Big, powerful winger. Then at fly half, I went with, look, I mean, this position is absolutely stacked this year. There's so much talent there. So before I mention the player, I mean, just the honorable mentions, just to go through this list, guys. I mean, you guys know your rugby. JT Kaput from Bertie, exceptional. Gabrielson from Klasfontein, very special. Logan Miller from Framsby, I think he's a dark horse. He reminds me a lot of like a young Matt Gitto. I like Chris Horak from Hilton, Barnes from Monument, who's a Grey High School last year. Ian van der Merwe from Grey College, Shaiwan Black from Bishops, Lordshaw from Westville, Tattersall from Pretoria Boys is something to keep an eye on. Warner Pretorius from Paul Boys, and of course Tushan Hari. Now, with all this quality there, it was still an easy choice for me, and that was Carl Smith. I think he was actually really, really close to being named the number one prospect by us. He's such an exceptional talent. Apparently a great cricket player as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the leading point scorer at under 13 Craven Week. And you see so many guys at under 13 Craven Week fall by the wayside when they go through their senior career. He's just like a fish in water in that first team. And I mean, he had Liam Kuhn in front of him last year in the fly off. But when Liam was injured, he took up the position. He took the opportunity with both hands. I thought he was absolutely amazing last year. And I think he's going to do massive things this year.
Yeah, agreed. I think Carl Smith is a real special talent, Tom. It's about taking those opportunities. He was playing behind Liam Kuhn last year. And I distinctly remember a conversation I had with one of the guys really involved in schools rugby in South Africa, saying when Kun got injured, I think a lot of sides went, thanks, when we play Paul German, Liam Kun won't be playing. And I remember mentioning, I said, I think they might be slightly more dangerous with Kyle Smith at 10. Different skill sets, that he brought to the game than Liam Kun. But I'll tell you what, I love JT Kapunk. I think JT Kapunk is something really special. He played in a Noordheuwel side last year that didn't light the world on fire. They were not bad. They had some good results and some indifferent results. But I thought, JT Kapunk, he really caught my eye last year. I enjoyed the way he plays. He's a good goal kicker as well. He takes the odd snap drop. He's that fly off who's literally in the opposition's faces and playing on the advantage line. So I think, Carl Smith, number one for sure. But I love JT Gabrielson from Garsfontein as well. And then if you're looking to control the game with a massive left boot, almost Liam Kun-like, then keep your eyes on Ian van der Merwe from Grey College. He's got a massive boot. He kicks the ball. He's got a kick like a donkey. He kicks the ball prodigious distances. And playoff battle this year will be something interesting.
Just to jump in, I think you guys mentioned that there's depth, which is really exciting considering the struggles we've had at international level at fly half, especially over the last year. So it's quite cool to see that there's all this talent coming through, Tom.
Well, 100%. I mean, if anything, we too blessed with talent at 10, because last year you think about Liam Kun, we've spoken about him, Stan Heymans was something special as well. So, I mean, Thurlon Williams, I mean, you can go on. There's so much talent coming through. It's very exciting times, especially in the pivot position. But just to add on to what Spoed was saying, I think JT Kapunk is really going to shine this year because Noordheuwel got an exceptional group of under 17s. I mean, they were very exciting as under 16s. I think they're going to mature quite nicely. And they got a very decent group of under 18s. So I think all those factors combined is going to give JT the freedom to play his game. Not as an underdog, but maybe on the front foot a bit as well. Okay, then number 9. This was extremely tough. But at the end, I went with Hashim Pete from Bishops just because you really, really excited me last year. I just think the sniping runs, that sort of combination that he has with Shaiwan Blackenberg was just something really exciting. And I think it's definitely going to be a time for him to shine this year. I think, that number 9 jersey potentially is going to be quite a fight. I mean, you got Keanu Everson from Monument as well. That looks special. Lewis from Old Boys is back. So maybe not as much depth as there is at 10, but there's still a heck of a lot of quality over there. But Hashim's very exciting. Just a purely instinct-based player and just has fun with the game.
I would definitely also probably went with Pete if I had to pick a team at this stage. And Emerson as well from Monash. He was very good last year as well. And I can't wait to see him in action this season as well. But I like to used to say that probably the best scrum half in the country every year at schoolboy level is playing for the Peaches at Grey College. He's too naughty to play for the first team, and then he plays. I remember Piet van Zyl played third team for the Peaches, as well as there was a guy, Peter Smith, who also played for the Peaches, while other guys were playing SA Schools the first team, but that third team guy, I'm like, what? Asked the guys, why is he not playing high? No, he's a bit naughty. So, yeah, probably the best scrum off is somewhere in the Peaches there at Grey College. But that's the thing with you're talking about the depth of the talent in our country. But yeah, scrum off is always, it's a difficult one because, scrum offs and hookers, it's a special breed of player. You don't pick those positions, it's pick you. So, I can't wait to see the scrum offs, and they are the guys that makes it's exciting. It's that's what makes schoolboy rugby exciting. We don't see as many box kicks, and that's what these guys are. You can't get them to box kick; they'll rather run it.
100%. Okay, then 8th man. This was a bit of a coin toss because I'm a massive fan of Dwayne Nienaber from Michael House. I think he's going to have a big year. He's a big, strong boy. Dieter Sherbert is a fantastic player as well. Sasha Kadira, Barry van Heerden. I mean, there's a lot of players we could go through. But when I saw him in Thailand, JJ Turon was targeted like no other player. Every international school knew that to stop Gray, they had to try and stop him. And his character just shone through as a young man, as a leader. He stayed disciplined. He never lost his head on the field. And I even had a chat to the Hamilton boys coach, and he was just saying like that kid's a very special talent. And I just think, this is going to be a massive year for him. The number 8 jersey is almost his to lose in the green and gold, in my humble opinion. I just think a very special young talent.
Yeah. Look, obviously being based in Bloem, I get to see a lot of JJ Tron. I got to see a lot of him last year. Played Craven Week already in his grade 11 year. And I have to agree with you. There's just something about certain players, even if it's not necessarily always performance based. It is the influence he has on his teammates. It's the influence he has on his old school. If you go way back, JJ Tron is 8th man for Grey College. If you go way back, right to the 80s, Grey had a player, Ruben Kruger, who was a lot alike. Massive performances on the field. But it was the respect he had from opponents, and from teammates, and from the grade 8, whose hero he is. He's a boy from Graaff-Reinet originally, and I expect massive things of him this year. And we speak about depth. Somebody that could probably get into that honorable mention list is the Cherries 8th man of Grey College called Keegan Scholes, who when JJ is not playing, or JJ went off against Welkom Gym with an injury, on comes Scholes, and he's like an energizer bunny. He just keeps going. So the battle when Gray plays Affies between JJ Tron and Dieter Schubert, is going to be something special. That is something to keep your eyes on as school rugby lovers in South Africa. In the classic clash when Grey College takes on Affies, which this year will be in Bloem, Schubert will be coming for JJ Tron, just like the guys from Hamilton, etc., did go at him. But he'll be able to take care of himself and then Malaba as well. Keep your eye on him. Special things to come. But I just think as a complete package, JJ Tron has to get the nod.
For sure. Okay, then on to number 7. There should be no surprises here. Stephen Fuller from Paul Boys. We named him number 1 prospect as well. Others, you know very well. You made him go viral when he was just 14 years old after that tackle against Monument. I remember you posted on School of Rugby, and I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of views that thing got. But I mean, if you take a look at it across social media, there must be millions of views. And, you almost feel bad for that kid because, I mean, look, like Devon makes this massive tackle, but you never think about the kid lying there on the ground. Like when he's 70 years old, these mates are going to be straight in this clip. Hey, look what happened to Reactive, 50 years, 60 years ago, whatever it was. It was absolutely incredible. And I think he could have hit an international player with that, and the guy would have felt it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is that if you take a look at him as a grade 11, he bullied guys that are even bigger than him. And like, he's a big boy, but he's not the biggest schoolboy out there. But like, Prox would be in fear of this kid. And one of the things that made me laugh as well is that they're players that have that certain aura about them. And it's almost like a Bucky's Worker type thing, where if they hit an opponent, shoulder charge him or something, the guys don't come around him and push and all the rest of that to get him, to basically let him know that he's such a teammate. They're like, no, I'm staying out of this. They don't want any part of Devon Fuller. So, to me, that was an easy one to name as a number 1 prospect. Look, Devon Fab is fantastic. I've been watching him since he's under 14. Romeo's great. Ferreira from Stellenberg. Yabu and Zamela. I mean, this is a kid, Yabu and Zamela doesn't sound like an Afrikaans kid from Arlo Landbou that wants to study agriculture, but that shows you the diversity in our country. Kwesi Logo from Sax, Aleto Wesley from Rondebosch. But we talk about like Dieter Schubert versus JJ Turon. That clash I'm really looking forward to is JJ Turon versus Devon Fuller, because, I believe they're probably friends off the field, but on the field for that match, no one's going to stand back for each other. It's just going to be, an unstoppable force against the immovable object.
I know, Tom, I must say, when I hear the name Devon Fuller, I get a ache here in the ribs, just about here. And you've never tackled me, but I get flashbacks of days gone by. But yeah, I think when you face Devon Fuller, probably none of the guys are looking forward to take the ball up too much if he stands there waiting for you. Yeah, that clip, I think on School of Rugby back then, it got more than 1.6 million views and it went viral everywhere, Australia, even America. So it's probably the most watched video ever of schoolboy rugby in South Africa, to be honest. And on the various platforms that it went out, a very fearful player, and he would be easy pick. But not for me to look. It sounds now like I'm like almost like Spoed. He'll pick cherries and peaches players as well. No, I'm going to just mention one Garsfontein player that probably have to be in your honorable mentions as well. Is Aubrey van der Westhuizen. He's the guy who scored that try against Paul Roos that got the win for Garsfontein. He's only matric this year, and he's going to also be one to reckon with. So the first one, before even Gray and Affie take each other, him and Schubert is going to fight it out and as well. He's then the loose forwards, and before they take each become teammates probably for the Bluebills team again at the Craven Week. So yeah, quite exciting.
For sure.
Honest, I've got to get in here just quickly. Like, I think I'm thinking about the viewers, yeah. And obviously all these names that we're naming is guys that we've seen so much of, and I think that's the beauty of the SuperSport Schools product getting bigger and bigger, is we're going to see the likes of a lot of new faces and a lot of new players. But where in the past 3 or 4 years, you really saw a lot of rugby from Garsfontein and Affie and Grey College and Boys Eye and Kim, and all of these schools. A name that I have to just quickly throw in there at the number 7 jersey is the name of Manu Stockport. So Stockport, is played lock last year for Grey College, and I think he is in Tom's honourable mentions as a lock forward. But he is currently playing at number 7, and he's really pulling his weight as well early in the season. So might throw him into that mix, and got to agree with you, Hannes. Aubrey van der Westhuizen, what a menace he is on the ground as well, making turnovers at will. So, what talent in the number 7 position. But Devon Fuller, I don't want to play against him. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned Mono. I did have him down as a lock, but I watched him over the weekend, and he's another rough and tumble player. I mean, you just think about the days when we were in school compared to now. I mean, no matter, we thought we had big boys back then, but it's just a different level nowadays. And, it's through something like SuperSport Schools and, Nienaber, like we can take a look at kids from Bethlehem Voortrekker or Grootvalk or anywhere. It's an amazing platform and amazing exposure for the youngsters. So I can't wait to see what hidden gems we're going to find out in this position as well.
Spur back bacon is like having fillet for breakfast. Because back bacon has more meat and less fat, and we grill that back bacon at 350 degrees, then serve it with 2 large eggs, golden chips, grilled tomato, toast and jam, and at only $49.90 for our unreal breakfast. Why not bring the whole family? Spur, people with a taste for life. T's and C's apply.
Number 6, I went to the John Henry split from Grey College. Another one I saw in Thailand that, has such an incredibly high work rate. I think his father was Philip Smith, a very underrated spring in my opinion. And the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, as they say. He's got that strength. He's got that warrior spirit in him. And, if Mono stays at 7, you've got the JJ Tron, Mono Stockport, and John Henry Smith. That seems like a pretty formidable loose trio.
Yeah, John Henry, grew in stature through the season last year when he played for Grey College. At the start of the season, he had a couple of indifferent games. And as that season went on, you could just see him finding his feet in that first side and become more and more influential. I think he's going to have a big role to play for Grey College this year, as will JJ Tron, obviously. A name that I quite like and quite enjoy is that of Jeff Winbeso from Motaniqua. I think he's a really special talent. Saw him playing against Grey College in Bloemfontein last year, and I thought, there's just something about this kid,
Explosive.
Yeah, so I kind of like him, and then Gideon Barnard from Fransby as well. It's almost one tends to forget with all the sides in the Eastern Cape. Sometimes one tends to forget the amazing seasons that Fransby has had in past years, and look for a couple of their players to make a big impact. But being from Bloemfontein, absolutely agree with your choice of Jean-Henri Smith.
Okay. Number 5, I went with Boris, but the Westhuizen from Monument. I think it'll be hard to disagree with that regardless. I mean, an absolute stalwart in that Monument team, big, strong player. I mean, those Krugersdorp, I don't know what they feed them over there, but geez, some big boys and strong boys over there. Eh? Just think about the last couple of years, and, they play very hard rugby. And he was in the SS Schools mix last year as well. So, as a grade 11, and we know how rare that is. So I think he's definitely someone to watch. I think he's injured for the first couple of weeks of the season, if I'm not mistaken, but should definitely be coming back very soon.
If he played a bit of an injury last year as well, finishing played in the final as well against Carstenpen and Wordval. But Ulrich, real prospect, very good. But so one of those others as well, we've mentioned Stopfel at lock, but moved now to flanker. But to be honest with Van Heerden, Pretorius also had a good season last year. If he could build on that and being better this year, it's going to be a huge impact on that. As well, if I've seen this, I'm glad that you've got his name here, Jaco Grobler at Figart Park. What a player. Big lock. He's probably going to be Figart Park's first Craven players in a couple of years, because he's proper, his work rate is high, he's going to fit right in. It's going to be interesting to see him if he comes and plays a bit of at a bigger level at Cravenwick. I hope we can see him there. Very good player.
Yeah,
sorry, just to add on there from you, just a nice story about Jaco Grobler from Figart Park. Everybody in schools rugby knows who Jeff Van Heerden is, who played for the South African school side last year and currently at the Bulls. I remember last year asking Jeff Van Heerden what he thinks about Jaco Grobler. And those of you that know Jeff knows he's straight to the point. He just said, "Jeff, meneer, hy's baie hard." So he really rated Jaco Grobler and out of the horse's mouth, So I think look for Jaco Grobler to make a big impact this year in schools rugby. He did so against Diamantscheldt already. Figart Park getting the victory there, which was a big surprise to a lot of people. So look out for Jaco Grobler.
For sure. Just another player that, 2 players I'd really like to mention. Michael Crinier from Otanikwa, part of that dream team. Looks a very talented player. Marco Stein from Paul Jim, he was injured last year, but then again, he had 2 SS schools, Knox plus Slappin Martins there as well. So maybe the sport should for him, there'll be a lot of competition there. And then obviously just one more polite period from Rondebosch. He also really looks the goods this year. But I definitely agree with you guys' assessments. There's some very interesting players there. And then to move on to number 4, I went with Daniel Boerder from Paul Jim. Another no-brainer, guys. I mean, part of the SS schools mix. His lock partner was also SS schools from Paul Jim. And, someone again who's just going to have a big year. Now, him and Marco together, Marco Stein, that could be another SS schools or national lock pairing, who knows?
Got to agree. Daniel Boerder, a bit of a no-brainer. Funnily enough, also started the year last year in Paul Jim's second side. Played at the North-South tournament in the first couple of games in the second side, and then got rushed into the first, after an injury. It's one of those players, you can't get him out of your mind. Having commentated a game or 2 of him, he wore that yellow scrum cap last year for Paul Jim. And he was just, absolutely awesome for them. One guy that not a lot of people would have picked up. Please forgive me, because I do spend most of my time in Bloemfontein, but is a youngster with the name of Heinrich Tron.
Yes.
So Heinrich Tron played Brantoma week last year for the Free State. And he's a bit of a man mountain. He regularly breaks records in shot put on the athletics track. Unknown, perhaps being in grade 11. But he's not going to stand back for anything or anyone during this year. So expect a decent season from him as well. And then, just on the honorable mentions as well, Liam Blanche, Glenwood, Ben Livesey, Kersney, Chart Hubert. It's going to be that position, the number 4 lock, that enforcer role, that's really going to be interesting to watch. And guys, although Danilo Buerta is leading that pack by some way, guys will definitely want to prove that they can rough and tumble with it.
For sure. Okay, top 10. This was very tough. I went with a bit of an outlier, but your sort of instinct tells you to go with whoever's paying for Grey College. Let's be honest, because he's almost automatically going to make the SS Schools team. But I really like the look of him and Nienaber from Stellenbosch. I just think he's a big boy. He's very active on the field. He's a powerful in the scrum. And I'm just a massive fan of the Jade Brigade and their style of rugby. They're one of those like up and coming programs where the whole school's behind it. There's a lot of excitement up in the air. There's a lot of talent coming through. And, I think Hammond's going to be vital to their plans this year. I think, if he's on fire, I think the team will be on fire. Last year, they relied a lot on Damien Marcus, and you can't really rely on a prop to make any magic happen. But you can rely on him to, sort of get the team going and get the gears going, so to speak.
I know Herman Lieber, I would have probably picked him as well. I quite like him. I like the way a tight head prop isn't showboating. It's not, he's get down to business. It's a tight head prop is your guy in the team. If you ask him to carry the ball, he's like, no, can't I rather rock and scrum? That's what I want to do. They don't want to do the fancy stuff in the game. So I quite like Herman Lieber. He does those things well. Donnie Rasmus, I've watched him as well in Thailand over the streams, and he was very good that side as well. I was impressed by him of Grey College, but I'm sure there's someone from Paul Boys High, because Paul Boys High usually, I think they probably have the most SA Schools props through history. But it's always, these are the difficult guys because you don't see highlight reels of them.
No, you don't.
Of a tight day prop. So it's probably one of the difficult ones you will have to be a connoisseur to watch the scrums and see those guys and see really what they do in the dark arts there. But I quite like your choice there, Herman Lieber.
Yeah, just one more player to mention that I don't know if he's lost a bit of weight this year or anything, but Bryce Stockton from Westpool, I think he was tipping the scales about 145 kgs last year as an under 17. So yeah, big boy, and like you said, the proper tight head. He's not interested in the fancy stuff, showboating. He just wants to get in there and get stuck into his opponents, and then leave it at that. Then hooker. Another obvious one. I mean, there's a lot of interesting players, but Christian Everett from DHS, he was SS Schools. I thought he was very impressive last year. I think there's a lot of competition, the KZN area, but just in that province in terms of the hooking position. But, if he stays injury free and, just focuses on the game and doing the basics right, I think he's going to have a massive year. DHS have transformed as a program. Nathan Smith from Ocean was someone to keep an eye out on. Nicholas from Stelford from Wynberg. Again, Albie Baton and Devin van der Walt, both in the KZN area. Very interesting players. Ron Volman from Halpmakar. FC van Rooyen from Affies. And one of my panelists said, keep a close eye on John Raskelman from Goodyear. Said he's going to have a massive year this year.
Yeah, it's hookers are such an integral part of any schools team, aren't they? I mean, it's if you can have that guy sort of in that fourth loose forward position, getting down to the ground. I think Christian Everett, what I've seen of him, he's just a little class above current. I thought he had a really outstanding year last year. And the players are going to play a bit of catch up. I'm speaking slightly under correction, but David Lottering, is he not?
That's what I forgot
this year, Hannes? I think he's a special talent as well. And he'll have a proper go this year of getting that green and gold jersey into his hands. But once again, we'll see surprises. We'll see players coming out of nowhere. We'll see grade 11s. We don't see as under 16 so often, or haven't been able to see them so often. And now, thanks to Super Sport Schools, we will start seeing all those under 16s, 15s, 14s. So somebody will come up there, and be a surprise package. But currently, I'll go Everett, and I'll just go with a wink and a nudge. I think the Vetlockeren will be right up there this year as well.
This is the one rare spot that I can actually very quickly jump in as a schools rugby referee. The difference it makes having a hooker who can consistently throw lineouts that are straight, because in school rugby, every now and then there are some wild ones that go all over the place. And if you've worked really hard, if the other players have worked really hard to win a penalty, however they've done it, whether it's at scrum time, won a penalty there, won a turnover at a ruck, and then you kick for touch and immediately lose it, it can be quite upsetting. So it is always great to have a hooker who consistently can throw it straight down the line. And I think that's something that's so important for a hooker to be able to do. And sometimes if a hooker has a bad day, it can really mess up the whole team's performance.
Yeah, I can add there, because I dabbled a bit in hooker at school level, and afterwards as well, that probably at school level, your best attacking place is from line outs, because the defensive lines are 10 meters away. And at scrum time, you're only allowed to scrum 1.5 meters, that we sometimes forget. So your best attacking, besides counter attacking, and we know because it's schoolboys, they're not as consistent in how they attack. So it's probably not the best attacking, but from line outs, it's your best. And then you must have a proper hooker that can put it in straight and have quality ball. Then you can utilize that extra 10 meters that you have on attack.
Agreed. Okay, guys. Well, in the final position, last but not least, I went to a stay intruder from Ussies. I just think, to me, it was another one of those no-brainers. He is exceptional in the scrum, exceptional in the loose. I just watched him against Deer Munfeld this weekend. The kid's got a work rate like you don't see it in the front ranker. Not too flashy, does everything, all the basics 100% right. I think he's going to have a massive future in the game beyond school level even.
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up perfectly there, Tom. Stone Treater, he's got a bit of flashiness upon him, but just enough. A tight head prop is out that if he goes on a date, his hair is not gelled or anything. And then the loose head prop, he wears a bit of gel when he goes out. So that's the difference between the two props. But so Stone Treater is one that does the hard work, but as well as he can do a bit of a flashy work, carry the ball a bit up, has a good work rate. Of course, a loose head prop is a bit loose in the game. So it helps him a lot. So yeah, I think that's a very good choice as well from your guys' side.
All right. Just from a perspective of watching all those names that we put together, there's just so much talent in South African schoolboy rugby. And I think, Tom, you're doing a brilliant job with these sort of forecasts for the season and stuff. And I would love us to get together after the season and see just how accurate you were. But what a pleasure spending time with you guys. Thanks a lot.
I can't wait for the season to get underway properly. I've been missing rugby. I can't wait to get out there with my whistle again those Saturday mornings from early on. The first games that I run out and there's still a little bit of dew and frost on the grass. Frost, if it's really cold, takes me back to under 8 where I played once barefoot and it was just almost frozen. Not quite, but it was quite cold. Very rare in the Cape. But I'm excited to get out there. I'm excited to see new players play. And most importantly, right here on Supersport Schools, I'm very excited to watch our 15. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Supersport Schools podcast, brought to you by Spur. It's been a special one in partnership with Next Gen 15. We'll see you next week for another episode. Until then, I've been Alex White. Bye-bye.
This has been the Supersport Schools podcast, bringing you stories of our future stars, powered by Spur State Ranchers.